And ahead of the union budget, ladies and gentlemen, those visuals on your screen, Prime Minister Narendra Modi meeting top economists ahead of the union budget. Now, the entire discussion around the budget has set the entire business world aflutter, ladies and gentlemen, given the fact what sectors could see that injection of attention as well as funds from the central government when it comes to Prime Minister Modi's vision of Viksit Bharat. What multi-sector growth could we see via the union budget? And now there you can see several economists giving their feedback to the Prime Minister in this meeting ahead of the union budget. I'm joined by my colleague Pallavi Ghosh on the broadcast. So Pallavi, the game plans are set in motion for the union budget for Modi 3.0 as everyone is hoping some big investments come through when it comes to multi-sector growth and the Prime Minister's entire growth blueprint.
Ayog, as we all know. So the Prime Minister does this annual meeting with the economists just ahead of the union budget. And in those pictures, you can see the Finance Minister also, along with the Finance Secretary, Revenue Secretary, all of them very much a part of that big meeting, because the inputs which are going to come in from the economists will go very much into the union budget, which is going to be presented on 23rd of July. One of the main focuses, of course, is going to be a job generation. The RBI's recent data had given a 2.1% rise as far as jobs in India is concerned. A large part of it in the agricultural intensive areas, a large part of them in the semi-skilled sector. But that is not enough. That's what government sources are telling us, that our focus will be to ensure that there's more and more of job generation. Which are the sectors should they be focusing on? How do you ensure job generation? That is also one of the inputs which are coming in from as far as the economists or the corporate sector is concerned. There is also this talk of a PLI or a performance-linked initiative where, for example, if a manufacturing hub or sector is told that if you're going to employ, for example, around 100 people, you can get some tax concessions. That's also something which many of the economists are gung-ho about. So net-net, one of the main inputs on which the government is going to have this full-fledged discussion and is having on Ayushman is on job generation, whether there can be a SOP being given out to the middle class about tax structure. Is that really feasible? And how do you also spur growth? These are the main points on which that discussion is taking place.
Absolutely. And something to do with infrastructure as well has been one of the big talking points, Pallavi, when it comes to the union budget, because revamping connectivity from tier 1 to tier 3 cities, expanding air travel and boosting the infrastructure of railway stations, because there's a lot of buzz on social media as well where people are scrambling to buy certain railway stocks. And at the same time, everyone is hoping that infrastructure growth is given such an impetus so that it comes in line with Prime Minister Modi's vision of Viksit Bharat by 2047, as well as the government's mission to make India the third largest global economy by the end of Modi 3.0. So something everyone is looking forward to is a huge capital injection, if you will, into infrastructure growth.
I mean, just to put it into perspective and very quickly, so the economic growth story is actually spurred by a cyclical pattern of generation of demand as well as supply. Now, unless your consumption doesn't increase, the corporate sector, the manufacturing hub doesn't have an incentive to increase their supply. And that is also possible also when there is a generation of jobs. So all of these factors are very, very interlinked. There has been an increase in FDI, the foreign investments. That's also one more SOP which the government is mulling. That, for example, the Apple has opened their factories, but we want more and more to do so. How to have that fine balance between Ayushman Bharat, where you actually encourage indigenous production, but at the same time, you also do want to have your foreign investments. For example, I was talking about Tesla. We were talking about Apple phones being manufactured over here in India. That, of course, generates jobs opportunities as well. Whenever the Prime Minister travels abroad, indeed, the Finance Minister herself, as well as the External Affairs Minister, all of them have these very important trade meetings. In fact, when the Prime Minister was there, both in Austria and in Moscow recently, that was also the crux of the discussion he was having in the bilateral talks. How to ensure that India is able to become self-reliant, but at the same time, how many of these countries start investing and opening shops in India? Because when they do so, imports, for example, on, say, an Apple phone would come down. I'm just giving a random example. But, manufacturing of Apple phones over here in India would also mean that there would be ancillary development, but most importantly, of course, there would be job generation. That, I think, at this point of time, the information we're getting by way of finance ministry sources is the priority number one as far as the general budget is concerned.
Right. Thank you, Pallavi, for getting us the latest. So, as my colleague Pallavi was pointing out, two main focuses of the Modi government. Number one, job creation and making India a hub for international investment to boost jobs in India as well as make it a manufacturing hub in line with the government's vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. That is the agenda when it comes to the upcoming budget, which will take place on the 23rd of July. And Prime Minister Modi getting the feedback from the top economists of the country. We will continue to track all the developments coming in. For now, a quick break. More news and updates on the other side.